Hey, my name is Louie. And it's good to be here. Well, I want to start off by saying that today's my birthday, and I'm 26. No, actually, I'm only saying it, well, a couple of reasons. Of course, I want everybody to know it's my birthday and I'm alive and I'm clean and all that. But 2 years ago, we had a 40th birthday party for me, and there's a few people here that were there, and I couldn't walk. You know, I was about 130 pounds, and I had just gotten out of the hospital. I was in the hospital for about 30-something days, and I was laying there by my pool, you know, and I had quite a few people came by to see me, and it kind of goes with where we're at tonight, with the 11th step about God's will for us and where we're at, man, and it was like, I didn't think I'd be here like 2 years later, celebrating another birthday, and amazing, and then I meet a friend of mine tonight that I haven't seen since about June or something, and he tells me he didn't even recognize me, and he didn't know it was me, and blah blah blah, and he's like looking at me and flipping out, and I take a lot of this in today, because I need to be reminded, man, because I can get real caught up in my own insanity and my own life situations and what goes on, and and my poor me's. And my disease manifests in self-pity and self-righteousness and anger and hopelessness and all these emotions that I go through on a regular basis, man. And when things like that, having another birthday and being alive, and being, 185 pounds and, 32-inch waist and, more like 225 and 30-inch waist, and I can't help but think about what God's will is for me, and it's like real simple, man. It's to carry the message of Narcotics Anonymous, man, to do His work, no matter what, man. I believe that the only thing He wants from me is to be happy, joyous, and free, and everything else. That goes on in my life, man. The one thing that He wants me to do is to show love to another human being, and carry the message of Narcotics Anonymous. And basically for me, the message of NA is wherever I'm at that day. Some days I can like come up here and tell you how wonderful things is and how great life is and how connected I am with the spiritual principles behind the steps, and then some days the only thing I can do is like white knuckle it, what I'm saying, till it passes, whatever it is that I'm going through, it's funny, I was at a meeting Monday, and I heard something that really, really disturbed me, man, and I got real self-righteous and indignant, and I started yelling at this meeting and carrying on, and you can't curse at this meeting, so right away I start cursing, and all of the above, and and I left the meeting, and when I'm by myself, I take inventories. We talked about last week, and I got to take an inventory of my actions, and I looked at it, and I thought about how self-righteous I was, and how it was like my way or the highway, and how I what I perceive this program to be and what it's supposed to be, and blah blah blah, and I had to like look at what it was about, and basically what it was about, man, was just me being self-righteous, man. My ego being a lot more important than than being loving and being caring, and and the beauty about the steps of Narcotics Anonymous and being in this program is that it allows me to be me. The one thing I get out of the 11th step, and the one thing that I've had, received a gift of the 11th step, is that I'm able to be me. That I can be me. with all the good that I have, with all the bad that I have, with all the, the ignorance that I have, all the self-righteousness. One of the principles behind the 11th step for me is about integrity. It's about being able to accept me for who I am in spite of what. As a result of practicing the steps in my life, I get to this step and I've gotten a little bit of awareness of where I'm at. I've gotten some awareness of what it is that I react to certain situations and how I act, and in practicing, that prayer meditation, man, because that's what it was for me. After I left that meeting, I meditated. I looked at, what it is that I did, and what was going on, and I was able to sit back and be by myself for a little while and be quiet, not be around the people, and that I wanted to impress or didn't want to impress, or the ones I wanted to get across. And like what I shared was what I believed, but the manner of sharing it, wasn't what was appropriate for me, and and that's a slow process, man. The 11th step, man, for me, we talk about prayer and meditation, man, and I've done a lot of praying, man, a lot of praying. Let me tell you, in these rooms, man. When I was out there actively using, it was about begging. It was with those quick prayers like, please God, get me out of this, and I swear I'll never do it again. And it was basically, I swear I'll never get, caught again, is what basically it was. Get me out of this mess, and I'll do this, and I'll do that. Always making a deal. A lot of my prayers were about deals. I'll do this, and you'll give me that. A lot of my prayers today isn't about deals, man. A lot of my prayers today, man, is about just getting through what it is that I got to get through for that moment. Not even wanting the result. Not even wanting the result that I want. And I've learned in these rooms to, be careful what you pray for. You just might get it. But there's a lot of things that I thought I wanted and I got it. Then once I got them, I didn't really want them, and everything else that came along with it. So I try not to pray for specific things today. What I do pray for today is that I stay in the principles behind the steps. Is that I can stay close to the loving God of my understanding, who for me is the principles behind the steps. I know that if I'm busy being in the steps, man, I ain't got time to be in insanity, being disease, being character defects, If I can stay in the principles behind the steps, man, I got a shot at, being okay today and being a little happy, joyous and free. And, I've tried many forms of meditation, man. When I was out there, I used to chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I studied that for 3 years. Nichiren Shoshu Buddhism, chanting in front of this little wooden box, with this Chinese scroll, smoking hashish, with my legs crossed, chanting for hours, trying to get that conscious contact, I did it, I took many acid trips thinking I was getting closer to this God of my understanding, preaching peace, love, and happiness, and taking all the little girls into the bushes to help them find God, whatever it was, always on this journey, I converted to Judaism and I practiced it, I was a Roman Catholic. I always thought that when we talk about prayer and meditation, that it had something to do with some religious type of thing, that it had to do with some type of, a specific idea of a God, and God, man, when I came up to this step, man, it was like, well, what am I supposed to do? And the beauty of Narcotics Anonymous, man, and it goes on when we get into our second step and our third step, is that it's the God of my understanding. And when I come to the point of when it's time for me to meditate, there's no specific way of meditating. There's no specific way of me praying. When I first got into the rooms, I heard about getting on my knees. You know what? That worked for me for the first few years when I first came into the room. You know what? I got on my knees. And I asked the God. I got up in the morning and I did that, and I did it at night, and I thanked Him, and all the above. That's what the people that were here before me told me to do, and I practiced that. And as a result of going on by myself and being here for a little time, I've developed many different relationships with that higher power. And it's gone on. I didn't have to get on my knees. I've gotten to that point in my recovery where I don't get on my knees today. And that's what works for me. And that's the beauty of this program, is that it in our own individuality, and as we develop a conscious contact with the God of our own understanding, we start to feel and start to believe and start to see what it is that we got to do so that we continue that relationship with that God. And that worked on then, and for today that doesn't work for me. My God doesn't, I'm not any more sincere if I'm on my knees or if I lay in my bed or if I talk to him as I'm driving in a car. He doesn't judge my sincerity. It doesn't make me more sincere to pray if I do it on my knees or if I do it while I'm on the toilet bowl. And believe me, I've had some sincere prayers when I'm on the toilet bowl. But he doesn't, the God of my understanding doesn't judge me, with actions that I take in reference to how I pray for him, And that's what I've come to believe, in practicing this 11th step in my life. I've tried many different forms of meditations in recovery. I tried that standing still thing, and breathing in peace, and breathing out love, and breathing in peace and breathing out love. And then I go to area service, and a lot of peace and a lot of love, a lot of peace and a lot of love, and it worked for the time that it worked. I've tried that. I've tried a candle, the birthday candle, just letting it, lighting it up and letting that, die out till it dies out. I tried out this other thing, this little humming thing that I used to do, for about 20 minutes, and I would just lay, get in a comfortable spot and just do this hum thing, and until, humming, until like a bird, and until I woke up out of my, my meditation. And, I've tried many different things, man. But one thing that has stuck to me, and still is true for me today, because I find that I don't have the discipline that it takes to meditate. I had a job for, the time that I worked until I got sick, that I was on call 24 hours. Those of you that know me know what my job was. I was out in the middle of the night, when a lot of you were sleeping. I was out there, in Port Everglades, ripping and running, up and down shore tanks. I got called at any time. I could never really make commitments, because I would never know when a ship would come in. I'd get called at a hot moment. So for me to develop a discipline to every morning at 6 o'clock, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go do this meditation, facing north or whatever, way that whoever suggested to me at the time that I was going to do, it was real difficult for me. So I had to find a meditation that I can work, that can work with me because of my time, in my situation. And, again, that when we read our 11th step in our basic text, man, it doesn't give us any specific way. There's no right or wrong way to pray or to meditate. It's what makes me feel comfortable. It's what I feel that gets me connected to my God. And what works for me today, what's worked for a number of years, and what's worked for me today, is I heard that my God works through you people. That everything I'm going to hear or everything I'm going to need to know, it's going to come out of another addict's lips, or it's going to come out of some literature that I read, or it's going to come out of some song that I hear, or it's going to come out of something, and outside of me, be it a person, be it a song, be it some literature, some writing, whatever it is. And what I do is, and I really concentrate on hard, is when I'm in a meeting, to listen to the people that are speaking. When I'm reading my literature, I really read my literature with the TV off, with the radio not playing, trying to really blank out my mind and really concentrate on what it is that I'm reading. A way that I did that and that helped me is when I read the basic text, I read it backwards. I don't know how many people have tried that, but I read, and I don't mean from the stories, I meant from the last chapter, chapter 10, but I would read the sentences backwards from the back of the book to the beginning. Let me tell you, that really develops a sense of discipline, and you really get to know this book really, really intense, and because it's you got to concentrate, because you got to find the period, you got to read, you got to look ahead, you got to come back, you're going back, you're going, back and forth with it till you find the beginning of the sentence. And what that did for me was it allowed me to discipline myself and give me the time that I needed, so that when I can, when I pick up a book, I can focus on it, and really concentrate on what it is that I'm listening, and be able to comprehend what it is that I'm reading. and absorb it a lot better than if I was just to read it straight through. Like another thing, is like reading it a few times. Like I didn't just read, I don't just read a book once, because every time I read, like I'm sure you've experienced it. You'll read the first step and then you'll read it again. You pick up something you missed the last time, and then you read it again. You pick up something else you missed the last time, and on and on and on. And that's basically the way I do, because a lot of my answers I get it in that. A lot of my answers I get it with you guys in these rooms. And you know what? It doesn't matter if it was people that were here, that are here before me, people that are here after me. I get a message from every single person that comes in here when I truly meditate and listen to what it is that you're saying. And it's been a number of years that I've been able to do that, and as a result of that, it doesn't take so much, it's not as hard for me to do it today, as it was in the beginning. Improving the contact that I have with my God and the relationship that I have with the God of my understanding comes with a lot of work. It's nothing that that I get just for showing up in these rooms. It's nothing that happens just by reading. What happens is by taking actions and taking results that I have to do. Listening to what you people have told me for many years. Like making changes. I can confuse it, any way I want. I can manipulate it and because I got this ability to believe what I think God's will is for me. Anything, I can take that happy, joyous, and free thing and put it into material things. Put it into desires, things that I want outside of me. My disease manifests in anything that makes me feel good, anything that'll take away any pain or suffering that I'm feeling at the time. I've been telling you all these weeks, the TV was working real good. The cigars, I stopped smoking cigars now. My computer's down because I ain't got no place to live. See how God works in my life. He took away the cigars. I ain't hanging out, I'm not in South Beach no more, so I ain't with the Cubans no more. So he took away the cigars. I got no place to live, so my computer ain't set up, so he took away from that. The only thing, I got HBO left. I got HBO and Showtime. I still got that I can use. But it's about discipline, man. It's about work. It's about taking action. It's about realizing that, you know what? You guys told me that all I had to do was stay clean for one day. And you guys told me simply what I had to do to stay clean for that one day. Well, guess what? It was number one, not pick up. And I had never heard that before. Nobody ever told me not to pick up. People told me to do different combinations of things. Nobody ever told me not to pick up. The other thing you told me was to go to one meeting. Just one meeting of Narcotics Anonymous a day. The other thing you told me to do was to read one piece of literature. Just one piece. Not a whole book, not a whole pamphlet, just one piece of literature. The other thing you told me to do was to get one phone number a day. The other thing to do was to make one phone call a day and to put my hand out to somebody else. And that's what you told me. And if I practiced those things, I was able to stay clean for one day. Well, you know what started to happen? When I started to see that and I took those actions, I started to see the result. You know what? The result was that I was able to stay clean for 24 hours. And I went ahead and did it the next day, and guess what the result was? The same. I was able to stay clean for 24 hours. So now I get to, by the time I got to the 11th step, I got rid of a lot of garbage. I got rid of a lot of things, that were keeping the God of my understanding away from me, because that's what was happening. How can I get close to anything? It's like, how can I have a relationship with a woman if I'm cheating in this relationship? If I'm betraying her and I'm not being honest, and I have my own separate bank account, and she has her own little lifestyle, and I do my own little things, how the hell are we supposed to develop a relationship when I'm doing all these things behind her back? There's no way that I can live in this relationship, loving, caring, honest, joyous and free, if I'm doing all these things on the outside. So there's no coincidence that, the 11th step of me developing this relationship with this God is that by the time I got to that, I got rid of a lot of that garbage in the 4th step. Got rid of it in the 5th. Realized some of the things that kept me from this God in the 6th. Allowed him to take some of it in the 7th. Cleared up some of that garbage that I created in all those years in the 8th, and became willing to make amends in the 9th to this. you know, and continually take an effort to look at my actions just for today, so that, you know what, I can develop this relationship with this God. Because if I'm doing things that I did, you know, that I shared about in my 5th step, if I'm acting out on my character defects, you know what, I can't develop no relationship. How can I have a conscious contact with a God of my understanding when I'm acting out on all these things? So there's no coincidence that the 11th step comes when the 11th step comes. You know, because by that point, man, I freed myself from a lot of my shame. You know, by that point, I've developed a relationship with me so much that maybe I like myself enough that maybe I can allow a God of my understanding to come into my life. That maybe I deserve this God. That maybe I deserve nothing but good things in my life. You know what, that I deserve to be alive 2 years later, you know, from when I thought I was going to die. And what a beautiful freedom that is. What an awareness that is, man. You know, that all this is about practice and about time. You know, about giving myself the opportunity, man, that he gives me, and be able to love myself enough to allow him to enter my life. You know, what is his will for me? His will for me is just to get, you know, closer to him, to allow him to run the show, to allow him to guide me. I'm going to give you a perfect example of how God works in my life. And it's a material thing, but you know what? It shows. I went to a pawn shop last night because I've been wanting to buy myself something for months. And I keep putting it off. I'm looking here, I'm looking there. I got a friend of mine that owns a pawn shop. So I went over there last night with my sponsor, because I let him use with me. And we went over there last night, and I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, you know what? I've been wanting to go there, and I haven't gone. And I said, you know what? Let me go. I'm ready to go buy this thing that I want for myself. So I go, and I look at the thing, and I see it there. Now my friend's not at the shop. So I said, you know what? I won't buy from his employees. I'll wait till the morning, which is this morning, and I'll get it from him, because he'll give me a better price. You understand what I'm saying? Wheeling and dealing still, right? And so I said, I'll wait till this morning and I'll go ahead and buy it. So I get up this morning and I get up this morning and I'm staying with my friend, her husband, who borrows her car but never takes the keys with him. Guess what? Takes the keys with him today. Goes to work. She's got no way of getting in her car. You know, God is wonderful. I'm there. So she has to go to work. She takes my car. But look at what happens. Is that now I'm not able to go out to go buy this thing that I wanted to buy. My wife calls me last night and said, listen, you have to be at the house because I'm sending you a gift. And you have to be there because they're sending it through UPS or whatever it is, airmail. And I'm like, no, don't worry, they'll just leave it there. I got somewhere I got to go in the morning. She says, no, you got to stay. I tell her, okay, like I tell her all the time. Yeah, but I knew I was leaving anyway, right? Yeah, honey, don't worry, I'll stay and I'll wait, you know? I have to wait. It doesn't work out the way it is for me. My friend goes to, leaves, goes to work, whatever, I surrender. I can't go shopping this morning. I get the gift in the mail, and it's what I was going to go buy last night. These pair of shoes I wanted really bad. No. and it's what I was going to go buy. What I've been wanting to buy. You know what? I could have gotten, and when I'm talking about, this is a material thing, but when we talk about what God's will is for us, it's just a little example. It's like if I could have like manipulated and conned and maybe got up, drove my friend to work, went and, you know what I'm saying? I could have done any number of things which went on my mind, and I allowed myself to just surrender and let the God of my understanding guide me. Because when I make plans, and I've learned this because, I've been one that I got to go day by day. It's like I just got to let the domino effect flow in my life. And when I just let things flow, and I let the God of my understanding, like, realize what it is, where He needs to put me, you know what? My will happens. And my will was like to get this gift that I wanted for myself, and you know what? It was brought to me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it might be a minute thing, and I can get specific later with you individually about it and all that. But it's just another example of when I do God's will. How I reap the rewards of this program. You know, and what it does is just allows me to see how much he loves me. And it's a material thing, you know what I'm saying? But you know what? These little things matter to us, because I'm a person that I need to see black and white. You know what? I needed to see that you were able to stay clean for 24 days before I was able to believe in it. You know, I needed those people that were here before. I needed to see the people that were here, you know, like a year and 2 years before I said, wow, you mean I can get a year? I needed to see it. I needed them to show me. I needed to see that you know, things were happening good in their life. You know what I'm saying? And what happens is that my God shows me everything. You know, just in things in my life, the way things occur. You know, I was standing in a corner early in my recovery, man. I was on the corner of Sunrise Boulevard and US 1. I just got kicked out of this clubhouse, Gateway Club. They kicked me out. I yelled at some old lady there, and they kicked me out. And I didn't have no vehicle at this time. And I had heard about, you know, back then, and we don't talk a lot about that, but a lot of the 11th step for me when I first came in was the serenity prayer, man. It was like that was the only way I could practice a conscious contact. It was like everything I did was about say the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept it, you know, and on and on and on. If I wanted to use, just say the serenity prayer. If I wanted to do, just say the serenity prayer. If I want, just say the serenity prayer. And I'm on this corner and I'm freaking out because I don't know how to get to Oakland, where the Old Time Square Club used to be, where we had the noon meeting back then at the Old Time Square Club on US 1 in Oakland. And I'm freaking out and I'm shaking. And I'm really nervous and I don't know what to do, and I close my eyes and I say, you know what, let me practice what they tell me. And I say the serenity prayer, and I open my eyes, and Richard O, who was a guy that was around years ago, you know, and he pulled up in his, he had a white Jeep, a white Jimmy thing back then or whatever it was. And he looks at me and says, oh, Louie, is that you? You know, and it's like, holy cow. He says, where you going? I said, I'm going to noon. He says, wow, I'm on my way there, get in. You know, little things like that. You know, is what get me closer to that God in my understanding. But you know what I did first? I took the action first. I said serenity prayer. I had a little faith. I had a little hope. And I took the action that was necessary. And as a result of that, you know, the God of my understanding came into my life. You know, and he showed me that he loves me. He's going to get me to where I need to get. You know, the 11th step, man, you know, it's not about like sitting around for me and praying and then waiting. It's about sitting around praying and then taking some action. And then doing what it is that I got to do so that I continue that contact. You know, like I said, if I'm lying, cheating, and stealing, you know, I can't connect with this higher power in my life, man. You know, I got to be honest, faithful, and caring. You know, I got to be loving. You know, I got to do what it is that he wants me to do. And the only thing that I'm asking for, you know, that I'm really, really asking for, you know, is to do his will. And whatever that is at the time. I'm standing in a train in Washington, D.C., you know, and I'm like freaking out because I want to get to a meeting and I don't have a meeting list. And I had a lot of trouble in the country calling these helplines. You know, we got a lot of trouble with the helplines around the country. And I'm in Washington, D.C., man, and I look across the way and I see a kid with a white chick, you know, hanging. You know, and I said, oh my God, is that funny? I'm looking for a meeting, and there's a guy with a white chick. And I tell Marcy, I'll be right back. I cross over. I sit next to the guy. I said, listen, you know, I see you have a white chick, man. Can you tell me where there's a meeting? He said, oh, I haven't been to a meeting in 3 months, man. I've been using. You know? And I'm saying, well, wow, you talk about what God told us to me today. You know what? I had to sit down and talk to that brother for a little while. You know, and I sat with him 4 or 5 train stops, you know, and telling him about the message of Narcotics Anonymous, man. You know, was it for me? You know, my own self-centered is, oh, God put him there for me so that I can get it. No, it wasn't about that. It was that maybe that half hour, that 20 minutes, whatever time I spent with him, talking to him about recovery, telling him that it's okay, you know, that he relapsed and that he went out, that he needs to just go back to another meeting, you know, that maybe we can go together, you know. Maybe I planted that seed, you know, in him again. You know, when I'm busy thinking about, you know, love and thinking about peace and thinking about doing God's will in my life, he shows me what his will is. He puts the things in front of me that I need to do. You know, the power to carry that out. You know, we talk about that, man. What is the power to carry that out? You know what? I have the power if I stay clean. You know what? I have the power if I come to these meetings. You know what? I have the power, to go out there and be an example of the principles of Narcotics Anonymous. Being an example, of what it is and how we can change and how we can gain benefits. And you know what? All that material stuff and all that is all wonderful and all real good. And you know what? I've had it before. Here I am. I'm homeless today. I got no place to live, and I've had brand new houses built in Coconut Creek with dirt that I used to go to meetings showing everybody my dirt. You know what I'm saying? I've had homes I've had a townhouse, in Davie. I've had brand new cars and all this other stuff. And you know what? None of that matters, man. None of that matters. But what I have today, that I can look at myself in the mirror and tell myself that I love me in spite of everything. That I can do what I did the other day. Feel like an asshole. And be arrogant, self-righteous, and still be okay with me and accept me for who I am. And maybe correct it. Maybe when I go back to that meeting another time, go back there and be a little bit more loving with what it is, with the message that I got to carry. And a little self-righteousness. You know what? That I know that I still have a lot of work to do with myself in spite of what it is that, that I think. Because because I've been around and because all this sounds so real good, I'm in no danger of getting too well too soon, and I'm real grateful for that. I know that the God of my understanding wants me to stay clean. I know that the God of my understanding wants me to put my hand out to another person and let them know that there's a better way of life. Since I've been sick, I've been battling with that. It's like I've been like, well, what does he want me to do? I've been so grateful that, that I'm alive and that I'm well and, that I'm 200 pounds again and that, I'm grateful I got a 38, my guts hanging out, what I'm saying? I'm grateful that, I ain't, where I'm at today physically, man. And I get caught up in I want to pay back the God of my understanding. And I figure, well, you know what? Let me go out there and work with people with AIDS, because I got the virus. Let me go out there and work with the Latinos. For those of you who confuse me for being Irish, I'm not. I'm Puerto Rican. Let me go ahead and go out there and work with the Latinos. Or I say, well, you know what? I really identify with kids. Let me go out there and work with kids. I can get at that level real quick. And on and on and on. It's like to pay back. And what I'm realizing is I start. As I go on with my inventories and my recovery these past few months, and as I meditate, daily throughout my day, and my form of meditation, and I speak to my sponsor about it, and I share with my friends about it. It's just for me just to do what it is that's in front of me at the time. And not worry about so much. Not worry about having to pay back something that, my God, when I made the list of what I wanted him to be, a person who wanted payback was not on that list. Because he loves me no matter what. And I don't have to pay him back for anything. I don't have to. All I have to do is just show up, wake up in the morning, get up on my feet, plan my day, do what it is that I got to do, and you know what? He's going to place me where he needs me. If he needs me to speak to people with HIV, that are still using or whatever it is, guess what? He'll place me there. If he needs to put me with the Latinos, get what? He'll place me there. If he needs to put me with the gays and the lesbians, guess what? He'll put me there. If he wants to put me with the, heterosexuals, what? He'll put me there. He'll put me wherever he needs to put me. All I got to do is put my foot forward. The power to carry that out. To carry what? To carry the message of Narcotics Anonymous. To carry the message of love, in spite of what? I was talking with a friend of mine last night, and we're talking about when do we lose the image that we put on ourselves? Because for a lot of years I was a liar, cheat, and a thief in these rooms. And guess what? I've been in 2 relationships since I've been 7 years that I haven't cheated on a woman. 7 years that I haven't betrayed the trust in a relationship, in the past 2 relationships I've been with. And and people still look at me and still talk to me about who I was 7 years ago. And it's like, when is that going to stop? You know, when are people going to stop looking at me at who I was, you know, and start looking at who I am today? You know, and you know, we talked about that. And you know what? It's like when it stops mattering to me is when it's going to stop. Because it still matters a lot to me. You know, I still got this image I got to portray. You know, I still got this facade I got to put on. I still got this thing I got to protect. You know what? When it's for me, you know, because when I left this conversation, I was driving home and I was thinking about it. You know, when it's going to stop? When it stops mattering to me. Because it doesn't matter, you know, to me what you think of me. What matters is what I think of me. You know, and when I stop thinking myself as that person, guess what? It's not going to be thrown in my face anymore. So little by slowly, man, I'll keep coming to the meetings of Narcotics Anonymous. I'll keep getting in contact with this, you know, God of my understanding. You know, and again, the beauty of Narcotics Anonymous is whatever we want it to be, our own individual God. You know, the beauty of Narcotics Anonymous, I can pray any way I want, whether it be on my knees, you know, whether it be on the toilet, whether it be, you know, laying in bed, you know, whether it be in a house of God, or whether it be at a beach or wherever it is, you know, that I can meditate, you know, in a rocking chair, with my legs crossed, with my legs open, you know, in a meeting on the toilet bowl. Good meditation on the toilet bowl, you know, good reading, you know, time for good reading, you know, that I can do this wherever I want. And I don't know any other place that I've had that much freedom to be able to practice what it is, you know, that I need to practice in order to get closer to this God. Anywhere. You know, I don't know any other way of life, spiritual way of life, you know, that gives me the power and gives me the freedom to choose what it is that I have to do in order to get closer to, you know, to that entity, that God of my understanding. And it's a beautiful step, the 11th step. You know, the principles that I practice behind it is awareness, number one. I get to be aware of myself and the actions. You know, I get to a little bit of awareness of what God's will is to me as I go on through my day. You know, as I practice it through the years. You know, I get some humility to realize that, you know what, it's not about me. You know, that there's a power greater than me that guides me. A little honesty to realize that, you know what, I can't do this alone. That I need someone greater than me to guide me through this day. You know, a little discipline, you know, because I got to practice discipline and I got to practice perseverance so that I can continue on with this prayer and meditation in whatever form I choose to, because it takes discipline to practice it on, you know, on whatever level it is that we do. You know, so these are just some of the principles that I see, that I practice when it comes to the 11th step in my life. You know, guess what? If I'm living in those principles, you know, then that step is working in my life. If I'm living in those principles, that step is working in my life. And I can't help but get closer to the God of my understanding. Thanks for listening.